Welcome to the Cut Flower monthly webinar series. Today is going to be on identifying your audience and finding your market. My name is Lindsay Pageau. I work for Cornell Cooperative Extension's Harvest New York team as an agricultural business development marketing specialist. I'm also the statewide agritourism specialist. I also own Adirondack View Lavender. It is a lavender farm located in the Adirondacks where we do you-pick lavender, you-pick sunflowers, and a variety of value-added products that are sold out of the farm shop. Every time I do a program and it has to do with marketing, I always like to bring up the 4 P's of marketing and have a little bit of a conversation about what those are. So the 4 P's of marketing are price, product, promotion, and place. Price. How do you determine pricing for your product? Is it that you're keeping detailed records of your fixed and variable cost to determine the actual cost it takes to produce that? Are you looking at other people's products that are similar to yours at a farmer's market, a farm stand, maybe a wholesale listing price sheet? So it's really important to figure out how much you're going to be selling that product for. Does it cover the cost to pay yourself and your employees? So I always like to look at it as if you're producing a product and you're the only employee. If you get hurt, you're going to have to pay somebody. So you might as well make sure that you can pay yourself because you need to make a living, and potentially, pay an employee because you're still going to, if you get hurt, you're still going to need to make a livelihood off of this. Is the price reasonable for your market? You can produce a product, anywhere that you're located, but you don't have to sell it there. You could sell it 100 miles away. So it's important to know like what people are willing to pay, whatever market you're willing to go into. I'm located up in the Adirondacks, and so there's certain, like even farmers markets in the area where you can get a higher, possible amount for that product that you're producing versus another market. So it's really important to know what's going to be reasonable for the people that are going to be purchasing that product. How are you selling this product? Is it going to be something that, especially for cut flowers, are you going to be selling it by the stem? Are you going to be selling it by a bouquet and it needs to be specialty wrapped in either like a plastic or put in water, or I see a lot of like this paper wrapping around bouquets. What is the quality of your product? Is it the same quality as a lot of the other product on the market, or maybe it's even a higher quality? How much product do you have available to sell? I think this is one of the things that a lot of people getting into farming or any type of business when you're producing a product is how much you're going to have available for the market. I always tell people to start small and grow over time, and don't overpromise, especially if you start thinking about wholesaling. Or maybe even you're thinking, oh, this season I can do 5 farmers markets. Well, you might not have enough product for 5 farmers markets. You might not have enough of those cut flowers. So it's important to, keep a reasonable expectation of what you're going to be able to produce. Is the product appropriate for the market? And then is there room for the product in the market? So if you end up like looking at different farmers market one year and you go, oh, there's no cut flowers here. This is going to be a great opportunity. I can sell cut flowers. And then for some reason, you show up to the farmer's market that the next year and there's 10 cut flowers. Like the market might end up being, there just might not be space in the market for your product. How are you planning to advertise your product? Is it going to be from a website, social media, newspaper, word of mouth? Where are you planning to sell your product? And then who are the customers and what are they looking to purchase? So when I look at place, is it going to be retail? So is it going to be at a farmer's market, a farm stand? Are you wholesaling your product out to like a florist or a grocery store? So there's a lot of, there's a lot of things to think about when it comes down to those 4 P's of marketing. Finding your audience, customer. So in the next couple of slides, we're going to be talking about what like your kind of customer base might end up being. To your customer, there's a lot of things to put in considerations, and customer demographics is one of those important things. So you'll see that I have listed 4 different components. So age, depending on how old somebody is, can definitely impact a person's spending patterns, especially, like I know when I was growing up, like in my 20s, I burnt through money like crazy. So I was very generous. I didn't have like a lot of money per se, but I just was like willing to buy like everyone for Christmas presents. And I know now over the years I've got slimmed back a little bit more now having a family. So there's like a lot of different reasons, like I think with age where people develop their spending habits over time. Educational level, which brings into could end up being in like what people have for employment down the road, of how much disposable income they may have, their family size, if depending on your family size and your economic situation, it can be vary for every different person, but it definitely impacts the person's like spending habits. And then sometimes I would mention marital status is like, especially with flowers. People buy flowers for many different reasons, and it might be that it's Valentine's Day or it's Mother's Day that they're giving flowers to their significant other. There's a lot of just different things to think about when it comes down to those customer demographics. There's a couple different components to think about. Is what are consumers buying? Are they buying bedding plants? Are they buying indoor plants, indoor flowers, like especially for special occasions? Are they buying fresh flowers? Who is buying them? Is it a woman? Is it a man? And different circumstances could be. They're buying it for their partner, especially like I mentioned, like a special occasion. So people, sales are different based on like their situations in their life. And then, are they buying for themselves or for a gift? I know a lot of people, they just like to have flowers around the house, so they'll buy, a fresh bouquet of flowers every week when they go to the farmer's market. But then there's other people that might just buy them specifically. They're going to go as a gift. They're going to a house for dinner, so they bring a bouquet of flowers as thank you for having me there. Why do people buy flowers? So there's many different occasions that in life that people buy flowers for. Birthday, anniversary, appreciation thank yous. I look at like teacher appreciation days or administrative appreciation days. Home decor, congratulations, for love, romance, holidays, apologies, funerals, memorials, sympathy. I picked this picture on this slide because I think this is you see like a bottle of wine and you see a bouquet of flowers. Which one's going to last longer when it gets down to it if you bring that to a friend's house? Most likely the flowers are going to last longer, because if you bring a bottle of wine for like a dinner party, people tend to open that bottle of wine up and it's done and it's enjoyed by everybody at that specific moment. But that bouquet of flowers on the table, that's going to last for a week. And every time, like I know personally, I walk by that, I would think of who gave those flowers to me. So customer located? Are they located in New York City? Are they located in the North Country? Are they located in Central New York or the Catskill District? So this has a lot to do with how much people are willing and able to pay. I know I live up here in the North Country, and over the years we've had a number of farmers who bring their vegetables for sale down to New York City because they can get a higher price point versus what they can get locally. You know, depending where you live, depending on the number of people that are in that location. You know, I know in Plattsburgh, you've got about 25,000 people when college is in session versus New York City where there are millions. And then also things to think about is where you're located is tourists that might be coming through that are purchasing that product. So I'm going to use another example here in the North Countries. We have different farmers markets. We have the Plattsburgh Farmers Market, and that's more, I would say, more local people that attend that farmers market versus the Keene Farmers Market, which is located in Keene, and it's in a great location between like Keene and people that go up to Lake Placid, and there's a lot of summer homes, so there's a lot of tourists up there. So depending on where you live might be a difference in who might be your customer base. There are a lot of different ways to engage your customers in order for them to be able to find the product that you're going to be selling. I think nowadays a lot of times social media tends to be a way that people are advertising their products through Facebook and Instagram. One of the questions I have is how often should I post? I always suggest people, like during the growing season when they have a lot of product, they should definitely be posting like once a day. You know, provide content of like what product do you have available, how much it's going to cost. Depending on the platform, Facebook or Instagram is when you would use hashtags. You'd use hashtags most likely on Instagram. But there are a lot of webinars that we have within Cornell Cooperative Extension that talks more specifically on how to do social media marketing. Always really important when it comes down to marketing your product, especially getting that product in people's eyesight, is promote it in more than just one place. So just not in social media. Think about the newspaper, maybe your local newspaper, you take an advertisement out, or they can come out and do an article about your cut flower operation. So that, like I mentioned, was paid advertising, and there's a lot of different ways you can do paid advertising. You can do newspaper, radio, TV. Word of mouth is, especially if you have like a U-Pick cut flower farm, is a lot of that is word of mouth when it comes down to it. You know, I have, like I mentioned before, a lavender farm, and I can't believe how many people still haven't heard of us, and we've been in operation for this will be our 5th season, and which is great because then not everybody came the first couple of years. Your tourism office, so a lot of the tourism offices in the area can help doing some of that promotion, especially when it comes down to U-Pick, or if you offer tours of the farm. You might have a local farm promotion program in your area. So up here in the Adirondacks, through Cornell Cooperative Extension, we have Adirondack Harvest. So we pay, farmers pay a minimal fee to be part of that program, and they help advertise and market your farms through their website, social media. And then there's also a lot of events calendars in the area too, especially if you're going to have cut flower activities on your farm. Marketing. And this is kind of some of the information that I've already talked about in this presentation already, is like, who will buy my product? Why would they buy my product? What will they pay for my product? And where do you expect to find this product? Change over time. And this is going to be a lot has to do with if you're a beginning farmer or if you're like a well-vested farmer. And you might find markets that, you always want to have a high quality product you're sending out there, but might be better markets for certain things. And I'm going to use an example of like a CSA or a UPIC operation. So most people that come, consumers that come to an operation, they might not know like the best time to be picking those cut flowers when it comes down to like when they'll bloom, and they might be able to bloom on your table, versus yourself as a cut flower farmer needing to have a different quality of flower that needs to go to the florist. So I know I've talked to some farmers about this. Is what will happen is they will have UPIC cut flowers going on, and the customers will be cutting these flowers down that have been quite bloomed out, and maybe aren't going to last that long when it comes down to it, but they're still a beautiful flower they're going to be cutting for their tables, their tables at their home. And versus the flowers that you as a cut flower might need to be sending to a florist need to be more of like a tighter and not fully bloomed out, in order for them to be, put in refrigeration and then take out refrigeration and then bloom out nicely onto people's tables. So that's why I'm saying, like, your markets might change. Like, you might start thinking the first couple of years, I'm just going to go to just do farmers markets and have my farm stand. And then you might think, oh, I could offer UPIC and bring people to the farm to still buy maybe even value-added products you have. But they're also kind of cutting up those flowers that might have not sold, or you might have just put in the compost pile. The quantity of your product may change over time, especially starting as a new farmer. You don't know how much you're really going to be able to produce. You don't know how well of a grower you're going to be. So you might end up finding out that over time that you have a lot of flowers you need to have a lot more markets for, or you might not have as much, and you want to have maybe a smaller amount of markets available. Lifestyle may change. You might think about doing weddings in the beginning and thinking that that's really what you wanted to grow flowers for, and then you find out, I don't really like doing that, and you might decide to change. You just want to do like a farm stand or a CSA or farmers market. And then customers will change. Customers are going to come and go and change over time. You'll have your ones that are completely loyal to your operation, maybe the entire time your operation is in business, and then, like I mentioned, they will change. People are always wondering, should I do direct sales or wholesale? And there's a lot of pros and cons when it comes down to direct and wholesaling. So when it comes down to direct selling, you're going to need probably more crop diversity when it comes down to it, especially if you're going to be doing flower bouquets. Versus wholesaling, you might just be able to be like, decide you want to grow two varieties or three varieties of flowers. Maybe you say, I'm going to do tulips because I can do tulips in May, but I also can do forced tulips that happen all throughout the winter time. Maybe after the tulip season, like you have like a peony farm, and then maybe after that you do like sunflowers or so on your farm. So, and that's just your focus on maybe three crops that you're sending out to. Customer interaction. If you're doing direct sales, you're going to have a lot of interaction with customers, versus wholesale, you might just be dealing with maybe a total of 5 customers. And so that gets down to like, do you like people or not people, and how much interaction you really want to have on a daily basis. Your price, direct sales, you're going to be able to charge a higher price. Wholesale, you're not going to be charged as much, but that ends up being made up over time when it comes down to volume. Direct sales, you're going to be able to sell less bouquets, but you're getting that higher price. And the wholesale, you're going to be receiving a lower price, but you're going to have to produce more when it comes down to it. And depending on what you want to be doing for your sales. And then also cleaning, sorting, packing, and consistency. That this is a little more oriented towards like vegetables, I feel. But when it comes down to, like wholesaling, you could just be selling these in just in bins of that one variety that you're producing, 1 or 2 or 3 varieties you're producing, versus direct sales. You're going to have a lot more like packaging and wrapping of the product, and making those bouquets when it comes down to it. So depends. That gets down to like the amount of labor kind of that goes into it. So each market that is available out there has pros and cons. CSA, farmers market, U-Pick, farm stands, weddings, produce auctions, grocery, cooperative, restaurants, distributor, broker. So it's important to weigh those pros and cons when it comes down to it. So, you might have like a U-Pick operation and you love people, so you get to interact with a lot of people. But the negative might be that they might wander or pull the flower right out, the whole flower out of the ground, because I think that's a stem. It gets down to us really weighing those pros and cons for each of those different operations. And it's important too to talk to other farmers of kind of like their insight of some of these markets too. Priority markets. So I like to bring up priority markets because I've seen this over time. I don't really believe that you always should be sending seconds out there to like a secondary market. But like where is like your priority of sales, and where are all your markets you have? And I always like to bring this up with the CSA because I've seen this happen in CSAs. It's happened at numerous places in New York State. Is with a CSA, community supported agriculture, is people are giving your operation money to be able to, so that you can grow a crop, and they're expecting at some point during the season they're going to get a return on their investment. They're going to get products back, if it's flowers, if it's vegetables, if it's meat. So they're really taking and supporting and really wanting your farm to thrive. And I've seen this happen in, with CSA pickups. They happen at the farm. They do it for a couple of years and they just absolutely love it. But then sometimes those customers will go to the farmer's market and see, oh, that's my farm that I have my CSA from. And they see the quality is actually better at the farmer's market than what they're picking up at their CSA weekly pickup. So I just like to mention that is making sure that like you really have quality products that you're sending out. And if you have a CSA, really support that as that priority market when it comes down to it. It's not a secondary market, because those customers are really trying to support your operation. And I just gave examples like CSA, my second market might be my farm store I send stuff into, or it might be sending stuff to the farmer's market. So finding markets and new markets. So within a business plan, and every operation should have a business plan, is a marketing plan. Within that marketing plan, there's a lot of things to think about. Within the marketing plan is, I always like to mention short-term, mid-term, and long-term plan for your operation. So example might be, your short-term plan is I'm going to produce cut flowers and I'm going to sell them at my roadside stand for the first year, and just to find out how much I can produce and do I produce a good quality. Maybe your mid-term goal for marketing might be that you're selling to a whole bunch of like smaller operations in your area, flower bouquets. Maybe long term is that you're started to do weddings and wedding installations, and you still have your farm roadside stand, and you're selling to different locations of those flower bouquets throughout the area. But your marketing plan is going to change over time. And that's what I always like to stress. do it myself with my farm is I reevaluate my operation a lot during the year. I might not be updating that business plan, but I reevaluate what I want to be doing. And I always like to encourage people to go small and slowly develop over time, like jumping into this full force and thinking that you're going to be doing 10 farmers market in the area and a CSA and I'm going to wholesale, like that's a big ambition to do something like that because you don't know how much you're going to be able to produce. And I also like to stress to people, like when after they first do their first year of growing, like put a little stop, like take a breath and say, where am I going to be next year? Because sometimes people go through that first year and they just want to jump full force and go really big into that second or the third year. It's better to what I've seen is develop over time to see where you can actually to do and sustain yourself. Because especially when it gets down to like labor, like you don't know if you're going to have enough funds to be able to pay yourself and pay somebody else. So it takes a while to develop a business. I'm going to kind of mention a little bit more about like market development. Market retention is going to change definitely over time. Meeting new markets, so thinking about looking at like what people are paying for products in the area. Making sure that you have product specs of what you're going to be producing. Like if you're going to be selling to wholesale to an operation area, if it's all going to be, I'm going to be selling you 100 stems of peonies, or I'm going to be selling bouquets of flowers, and each bouquet is going to have like 15 stems or something in them. And it's always good to have samples too when you're meeting with people, especially for wholesale, so they can see what your product is going to be like. Orders, so thinking about like the quantity, you're going to be able to fulfill orders, and then the process and platform. I'm going to mention that in the next couple slides too. So samples. So when you're going to think about selling wholesale, it's really important to bring samples. Just don't show up with one stem of flower. Like that's not going to be a good representation of what you're going to be able to produce. So have a variety of products available so that they can see. Some people they're going to meet with for wholesaling. They're going to want to know how much they're going to be selling this for wholesale. And then sometimes you may need to provide a suggested retail pricing. So I like to bring this up is because say you're going to be selling your bouquets maybe like 10 miles down the road from your farm operation, and you're going to have an on-site farm stand too. And so that 10 miles down the road operation is going to be, selling your product, listing your name on the product, which is great marketing for your operation. But you don't want to have a price that's like, for them, it's going to be like $30 for a bouquet, while at the farm stand, you're only charging like $10. Customers might not feel good about that. So sometimes it's a good idea to have suggested retail pricing, but also be able to work with your wholesaler when it comes down to those pricing and having those discussions. When will you receive payment? That's always an important thing that I've heard from farmers over the years is, are you going to be, you want to have this conversation with your wholesale person and say, when I'm going to receive payment, it's going to be upon delivery. Is it 30 days? Is it 60 days? Do you need a billing system? Like ideally you're going to have to print out invoices and stuff, but a billing system that might also generate like a reminder, like, oh, I need to take in, send out a reminder bill to whatever place that you're selling to. And then what type of delivery you're going to need to do? Is it going to be weekly, daily? Are you going to need like refrigerated truck to do this? So an evaluation. So over the duration of your your business, things are going to change. Which markets you decide to keep, eliminate, and or expand are going to change. Your priority market and your secondary market might flip. So it's going to depend on a lot of things of what you can produce. And I just like to bring like farm activities that you might be having, of what you might like to do and what you don't. So on my farm, like I mentioned before, we do like you pick lavender. I sell fresh lavender, dried bouquets out of the farm stand, a bunch of value-added products. And when I first started, like I thought that I really wanted to get into weddings and have a wedding venue and then provide the fresh flowers from the farm into that. And things changed over time. Like I had a wedding on the property, and I have small kids, and it was too loud, and the people coming and going wasn't going to work for my farm operation and what I wanted to do when it came down to it. And so like I decided to eliminate that model when it comes down to my farm operation. The other thing I was doing at the time when I first opened was like some baby showers and retirement parties. And those were great, but due to living in an area with open fields and the winds nowadays in my area are just so strong, a 20 by 40 tent's not going to work. So, and the cost to put up a pavilion at this point doesn't work in that. So I decided, okay, weddings are out, doing those like smaller events, those are out. But then I found some other things that I like doing and found people to help me with is like wreath making workshops and lavender broom making workshops. So I expanded on that into my farm. So I evaluated what I wanted to be selling and how I wanted to be selling my farm operation product, and made some changes. So I don't know how many people have ever seen a SWOT analysis. So a SWOT analysis looks at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. And so this is in a business plan. It's really important to work through each of these, but I always like to look at the SWOT, and you can also apply it to marketing. And so when it comes down to it, like on marketing, like what do you do well? Are you really good at doing social media? Are you really good about getting out there into the community and doing word of the mouth? Maybe you're separating yourself from other competitions in the area with the products that you're going to be selling is very unique. Maybe it's something unique and nobody else is doing it. Maybe there's a weakness in like the marketing and the market is you don't have experience marketing products. Maybe there's competition that's in your area that does it better. Maybe you just have like limited resources and opportunities. Maybe when it comes down to it, there's room in the market. Like I mentioned before, is maybe there's a farmer's market that has no cut flowers, and this would be a great way to jump in. And so there's a lack of competition. People want to see that product in the market. And, threats might be, and I think, and this is like competition always gets brought up is like, you start an operation, people see that you're doing really well. And so then they decide to copy what you're doing. It's not really competition. I look at it as it's kind of, you're doing something right that somebody else wants to do too. So I always try to put a positive spin on it, but threats are that somebody else could come to do it. Negative business review. But negative reviews can be turned around into a positive to make improvements. So I think doing a SWOT analysis in regards to marketing is a nice twist and a nice thing to add into evaluating a market. I just want to thank everyone for attending the webinar. And if you need anything, please reach out to me. My name again is Lindsay Pageau, lep67@cornell.edu is my email address. And then my phone number is 518-569-3073. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.